Welcome to another educative episode of Breeding Cash. Remember the quail business? Yes, by January 2014, many poultry farmers here in Kenya had found a gold mine, so to speak, in quail farming because of the demand of quails, birds, and eggs. But 1 year down the line, no one seems to be interested with that kind of farming, begging the question, how profitable was that business venture? In this episode, we are going to tell you more of that and also bring you poultry business from Ongata Rongai in Kajiado County. Despite the fact that quails have been part of the Kenyan ecosystem since the beginning, people seem to have discovered their commercial value 2 years ago. Towards the end of 2013, a wave of popularity of the quail business swept across the country. Quail eggs were hailed as the answer to all ailments. Prices began rising fast. Quail farming became the new $1 million business of the time. Enterprising Kenyans rushed in to make money from this lucrative venture. Young Kenyans left their jobs for the quail business. Some farmers were tempted to throw in the towel in haste before doing a good analysis of the quail farming business. Supply surged and the prices fell sharply and a blame game started. Quail farmers blamed chicken farmers, pharmaceuticals and bad publicity for the loss of millions of shillings.
Problem is, we farmers, we are doing it, we did not have any market to sell to or to sell eggs to, meat for, but we are doing it purposely for us farmers, farmer to a farmer. It was farmer to a farmer business. So if I sell to you, only buying chicks from you, sell to another farmer. But you don't know at the end point, where will you take your quails? So after every farmer got the quails, the business flooded.
Some farmers claimed that bad publicity was engineered by competitors, among them poultry farmers and pharmaceuticals, who felt that their products' market value was falling due to the stiff competition. From what we have seen in our first segment, that is livestock in perspective, it's evident that quail business was one time a booming business here in the country. Now moving on to our second segment, it is a focused on one entrepreneur, Teresia Werimu. She forms our success story this week because regardless of the fact that she was one of the pioneers of quail business in Kenya, after the business went down, she did not go down with the business. She decided to do something else. Let's find out what she's doing right here in Kajiado County. Good afternoon, Teresia.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Karibu.
We've decided to pay you a visit.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that maybe you can tell us now what you are doing after the quail business that went down sometimes back.
Good question.
Yes.
From the quail business and from the quail farming, we learned quite a lot.
Okay.
And you don't stay where you are because you fail. You know, we're told that when you're young, you tried to crawl and then to stand, and you kept falling.
Yes.
And if people didn't take the initiative to stand and walk, you'll all be crawling. So the core business is a long story, not really gone.
Yes.
But at least is a story of the past, and it's going to come in the future. And it taught us quite a lot that made us venture into poultry, and not just poultry, but an improved poultry.
Wow.
So this is for actually a lot of what we're doing right now is based on the experiences we went through in the core business. So our farm right now is called Jolly Footprints. It's a company called Jolly Footprints Limited with the trademark of Jolly Poultry. It's a private company, but a social enterprise. Okay. So our purpose is not just doing business. We also want to reach out to the community. So if you look at our structures and our strategies, we're really reaching out to people. So we're not just making money and being happy that we've made money alone, but also trying to reach out to the smallholder farmers, but also to the middle level farmers, but also to the young people.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So maybe you can take us around and we'll be glad to see what you have in Jolly Poultry.
So what I'll start by saying is that our breed is called Croiler. Croiler is an improved breed from India. And Croiler, the purpose of its breeding was to target the backyard farming.
Okay.
And if you look at, for example, the kienyeji chicken, which we call the kienyeji chicken from all over Kenya, they're small birds that take forever to mature. And when they take so long to mature, it's difficult for you to predict commercially. And now we're in the era where farmers are not just farming as a way of life. Farmers are farming because they also want money. It's an income, it's a business. So when you look at this, is a much better version than saying farmers can make money from the kienyeji chicken. Okay. Remember, I'm not saying kienyeji chicken is wrong, but I'm saying that this bird can be kept in the same framework as the kienyeji chicken, but with a much business perspective.
Okay.
You understand? Eh?
Yes.
When I say much business perspective, it means that you can target, for example, a market. Right now, the chicks that you're selling, we're telling our clients you need to target the Christmas market.
Oh.
Because within 3 months, this chicken is already 2 kilos, and a kilo would go for around 600. So if you're targeting the meat market, and Christmas is always a boom, eh? So people are buying in numbers because they know in Christmas they can sell all of them. But with kienyeji chicken, you can never say, I'm going to keep 1,000 kienyeji chicken to sell in December. It is a bit cumbersome and it's a bit difficult. So this is an improved kienyeji. As you can see, it is free range. It walks around and a very high scavenger. So it can convert anything from sweet potato vines to refuges, kitchen refuges,
Yes.
and convert it into meat and egg, which is very good.
Wow, so you've said something that you mainly focus on the chicks.
Yes.
And how is the market like, and how are you faring on specifically, with the chicks?
You started by asking me a very interesting question about the quails. Huh?
Yes.
So I told you that our experience is based on the quails.
Yes.
What happened is that when I kept quails, I didn't have a market. I just saw them because I used to work with farmers. Eh?
Yes.
So I saw this beautiful bird from a farmer and I wanted to have it. And so when I started keeping it, I told my colleagues, hey, by the way, I have quails. And so in our workshop, they really challenged me on the market. And so it was on a Friday, and on a Saturday, I went looking for the market. And I was given an order of 200 eggs, quail eggs per day. To date, I have never delivered. A week later, after they started producing, I was called by a client who had been given my contact at KWS to supply 10,000 quail eggs per week. To date, again, I did not supply. So this is where we had started. We started at where we were selling at 10 shillings and 15 shillings, and then the price went higher. But now the problem was that everybody who bought the quail was going to breed, to produce chicks and sell the chicks. And how many people want to keep all these chicks? We didn't target the final market. So here we are a bit strategic in what you're doing, because we're not just doing the chicks. You're producing the chicks, which is the second generation chicks from our first generation broiler.
Yes.
And this we advise of the farmers to keep them for meat.
Oh, okay.
So as I told you that I'm on my way somewhere, because we are now discussing a partnership with a big slaughterhouse, because we want to buy these chicks from these birds now from the farmers to the slaughterhouse, so that now they can be converted as meat. Because if you don't look at the end user, then everybody will people will buy. I've told you, like, I have the first generation,
yes.
Then I'm producing second generation, then the farmers will go and produce third generation, and there will be a lot of inbreeding.
Wow, maybe I can ask you some of the challenges that you are encountering now, because this is different from, what the normal broilers that we know.
Yeah.
And I understand that you're also importing some from India.
Yes.
So what are some of the challenges that you're encountering in this kind of farming?
Well, there are quite a number of challenges we've encountered from raising this. First, because it is a new bird. Yes. We don't, for example, have a very clear measure on how much food are we supposed to give them, and what kind of quality food do we have. And we have a lot of interesting feed within our market. So at some point we're using this brand, at another point we realize this is the wrong brand, then we buy the other one. Yes. But this chick becomes very sensitive when you give it. Maybe you have underfed it, yes, or you've given it the wrong feed, because it matures faster. So there's tendency of a high mortality because of the feed. Okay. If for example it is not full, and when chicken are not full and they are caged, for example, they're put in a confined place, they try to get solids from one another, so they tend to pile on each other and they die.
And there's something that I've realized from some of the birds here. I don't know what about the feathers, because I've just realized that some of the birds have really lost some feathers at the back.
It is normal for birds to molt. It's like an eagle. An eagle flies very far and removes its skin to rejuvenate. The same thing with birds. Actually, they're now okay because the feathers are coming back. They sort of like remove all the feathers and then they bring the feathers back. At that point, when they've removed the feathers, the egg production goes very down and then it comes back again. It's just a process of rejuvenating.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we have the kienyeji, what you're calling, the broiler.
Yes.
And we are used to the others, the broilers. Yeah. So having, as a specialist in that area, what would you advise to a farmer in terms of which breeds to keep and which breeds does well in specific areas?
Let me first say this. I think you cannot they're not two comparable variables. You can't compare these two variables. Okay. This is broiler, those are broilers. And they have a different target, they have a different market. Secondly, in terms of what to keep, depends on the objective of the farmers and your capacity.
Yes.
For example, the farmers who keep broiler, the broiler industry is so formalized. It is so specific. They know exactly what to do at what point. For example, they know we sell it at 5 weeks. So if you don't have your market at the 5th week, you're already in trouble. So by the time you're keeping your broiler, you already know by the 5th week, that is where I'm taking them. With these ones, interesting that you can keep them without knowing where your market is. Because as it grows, the price increases. Okay. As it grows, it will not reach a point where it tells you, of course the profit margin would be something debatable, but in terms of price, it goes higher. For example, when you have a bird that is 3 weeks old, 3 days old, you sell it maybe between 100 and maybe 150. When it goes to a 1 week, it is another price. It's maybe 150 to 180. When it goes to 2 weeks, it is 200, maybe to 250. When it goes to 3 weeks, that's another 300 shillings. When it goes to 4th week, it's 350. When it becomes like the ones I'm telling you, we're buying from the farmers at 3 months, yes, it is 550 shillings a kilo live weight. Okay. So if your chicken has, for example, 2 kilos dead weight, that is 1,000 shillings. Yes. Which is different from the broiler market. You understand? Because broiler, if the broiler goes past 1.2 kgs, yes, the price goes down because it does not meet the target market.
Wow, very interesting. Well, yeah, maybe if you don't mind, we can go straight to where you have the structures, yeah, so that you can also tell us which kind of structures should the farmer keep so that you can have good productivity and all that, because I see there's a lot here and there's a lot of activity going on as well. Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of activities going on, and one of the things that we try to because I've told you we're a social enterprise. Yes. So what we're trying to do is to ensure that whatever we do, other farmers can replicate. So we're not trying to sophisticate, bring things from heaven and put them here. We're trying to do things that a farmer can do. For example, if you look at this, this is our watering can, yes, which is 100 shillings on the maximum. And you can have so many of these. If you buy the other ones, like we have an expensive one that goes for 1,800. It's automatic. Okay. You see that one? That is automatic. This is 100 shillings. So why we combine some of these things is to show the farmer that really you can go low cost, but you can also go high cost. So this structure is also, I wouldn't say it is a low cost, but we've used wood, which is is expensive. Quite innovative. But we used wood because of some of the challenges we go through when you're constructing the house, maybe the warmth, the stuff like that. But if you look inside, you will discover that our laying desks are made of paper mache, yes, which is just paper cut and mixed with flour, and you make a laying box. Oh, okay. So that is how we do it, and then this is now what we call our breeding. Okay, it's not really a breeding stock, but this is the chicken that gives us the eggs, yes, that we use to produce the chicks. So from the chicks we produce, this is a different generation from this one. Okay. And, okay, farmers don't really figure out the issues of generation, but the product we produce, the generation we produce, is a very high quality product. Oh. But we advise the farmers to produce it for meat.
Well, we have been speaking to Teresia Weremu, the director, Jolly Poultry. And now moving on to our expert's voice, she's still our expert today because for your information, she has a master's in agroforestry and she's also aiming high. And perhaps the big question at this point is, why did she not go for the white collar jobs and decided to do poultry? How profitable is this business? So we are going to have those details in our expert's voice. Stay tuned to WTV. Welcome back, and we are glad that you are still watching WTV Breeding Cash. This time we are right at the heart of Kajiado County doing poultry business, and our expert's voice comes from the director of Jolly Poultry. Thank you very much, Teresia, for finding time for us.
Thank you.
Perhaps I should start with the question, why poultry? Because I understand you have papers. One could imagine that, you could have looked for a job, white-collar jobs, having a master's in agroforestry. Why did you decide to do poultry business?
Good question. Why papers and why farming? But why not, I should ask. But since you've asked me, maybe I'll try and answer you. I think we grew up and we went to school and we were told that work very hard so that you can get a good job.
Yes.
And actually, I have a master's. I have two masters, one in management of agroforestry and nature change, and the one for agroforestry. And even with that master's, and even pursuing further to a PhD, I still feel that I need to be closer to the farmers because you don't go to school for you to be employed. It is a wrong notion, and that is the notion that is really affecting our young people. Like you finish a university like this, and the next thing you want to do is to get a job. But people forget that if you all want to get a job, where will all these jobs come from? And we are happy because our president keeps saying that we are creating jobs. So who are those who are creating jobs? We can't wait for those who have not gone to school to create jobs. Even us who have gone to school, we need to be on the rim line to create the jobs. So I have the papers and I am using my papers to create the job.
Oh, that's quite inspiring now. At the end of the day, it's all about, a business.
Yes.
And this is a money-making industry, if I may say so. And there's one thing I would really like to ask. For you not to look for a job and decide to create this one, this must be a profitable business. So how profitable is Jolly Poultry?
I have worked for over 10 years and I went out of formal employment last year in March, so this is basically my second year. And it has been an interesting venture. When I was leaving my employment, I told myself I wanted a 1-year break. I've always worked all my life, and I thought, wow, you get fatigue. I mean, right now, going to Nairobi is difficult. 3 hours traffic jam, coming back 3 hours. And personally, I was very fatigued. I was very tired. And I reached a point where I felt I was not productive anymore. And I thought, those 3 hours, I can spend it in my farm. I can spend it with my children. I can spend it with many other things here. So I decided to give myself 1-year break just to figure out where I am in the formal employment positions. But back to your question on whether poultry business is profitable.
Yes.
Yes, poultry business is profitable. But all businesses have a profit and have a loss.
Yes.
What determines how much profit you make is the spirit of not giving up. Because you start such a business and you just discover you've done one mistake. Like this is not like a cow, When you buy a cow, for example, you give it almost over 8 months before it gives you the first milk, and you're feeding it. And people forget it's the same concept with the chicken. With the chicken, once you buy the chicks, you have to give them months, feeding them, eating from your pocket before it gives you a coin. But the difference between poultry and big animals like a cow is that the rate at which you can get, the duration at which you can get your first income is shorter for poultry.
Let's now go to the bigger picture. I was reading one of your articles in one of the blogs, and you are really convinced that agribusiness is the way that, to take the country's economy to the next level. Yes. What has convinced you to that end?
I'll first say that agriculture is food. We're talking about food. When you woke up in the morning, you had your breakfast. Soon you'll tell me you're hungry, you want lunch. After that, you'll have dinner. So it does not matter how much chicken you've eaten in the morning, you still want to eat something. So this is more like a recurrent event. And so when you look at agribusiness, we keep complaining that we are getting a lot of food from outside because we cannot feed ourselves. And I hate it when we're told we're not able to feed Africa. Yet there's so much potential within ourselves locally that we don't need to be able to we don't need to be importing powdered milk, we are bringing sugar, we are bringing eggs and all these kind of things because we are eating. And when we eat, that is a finished story. So you need to eat tomorrow. So agribusiness is important because it keeps going. It's not it's not a project that once you've eaten, you have finished.
Okay. Well, still on that bit, what must a farmer do, especially in poultry? What must a farmer do to increase productivity and to make sure that, you know what, is in the business of making money? Because you've said that poultry business is very sensitive. Yes, you can make one mistake and it will cost you big time. So what is a must do and what is a must not do?
This is where we say that you learn from your own experience, because you cannot specifically say that this is the mistake you cannot make. There are those generalized mistakes. Like, for example, not vaccinating your animals. It is very clear that by the time the bird is 21 days, that is 3 weeks, it needs to have received 4 vaccinations on the minimum. 2 Newcastles, 2 new Gumboros. After that, if you lose your flock out of Newcastle, that means it is out of negligence. And then, of course, you need to feed them and give them quality feed. Some farmers opt to go for their own feed formulation. Take them to Naivasha and let them be tested and be sure that whatever you're producing is of good quality. Those are the general mistakes that farmers do. But the rest of the mistakes that people do, of course, with the chicks, for example, when they are very young, up to the age of 3 weeks, they require warmth. They don't have, we have different ways of providing warmth to a baby chicken. You could maybe do a water bottle, a hot water bottle. You could do heat from charcoal or heat from such products, or you could use electricity, like for us we use electricity and such kind of things. So one time, if for example you're out of the farm, like you have put 1,000 day-old chicks and you're out of the farm and power goes off, you come and find 500 are gone. Simply because they felt cold. And you see, this is what I'm saying, you cannot generalize the mistakes. Or for example, you put the wrong feeds and then they all die. Or maybe there's just a contamination. So we say chicken are sensitive because when it is a problem, they can die in masses. But what is important, which is a must do for all farmers, is that don't give up. If you have decided to go poultry, learn from all your mistakes and make sure you don't repeat that mistake.
For those who want to venture in poultry keeping or in broiler business, one, we have many quacks outside there, those who are selling chicks which are not purely broiler, or they are selling to farmers 3rd or 5th generation, which will not be the same as the other 1st or 2nd generation. So it's good when farmer want to buy or start this venture of poultry keeping, to look to a good source where you can get the satisfied or the bird which you want to keep to be the 1st or 2nd or not more than 3rd generation, because that generation the bird will start losing some traits.
When all is said and done, whether you want to do broilers or broilers is your choice to make. But at the end of the day, you must consider the cost of production and the nature of market of what you are farming for you to be in business. And now that brings us to the end of our show. You can always send us feedback. Our Twitter handle is the WTVKE and our Facebook page is WTV Kenya. Till next time, have a good week.